Hello students, myself Satyendra Vats, Assistant Professor in ETC Department in SAITM. So our today's topic is Laplace transforms, which is a topic in the fourth unit in signals and systems. Basically this unit consists of two topics, Laplace transform and Z transforms. In today's lecture, we will focus on Laplace transforms only. So in unit 2 we have already learned about Fourier transforms. So Fourier transforms were basically the continuous integral transforms of continuous functions. Similarly, Laplace transforms is also a continuous integral transform of continuous functions. So what is the difference between Laplace transform and Fourier transform? So Laplace transform maps a function ft to a function fs in which s is a complex variable. As we can see here, s is a complex variable in which sigma is the real part and uh, omega is the imaginary part. So we can show this as the complex variable on a s plane also, like uh, this is the real axis, this one is the real axis, and this is the imaginary axis. So s can be written as a function of both sigma and omega. If we make this sigma is equal to 0, then what we will get is the Fourier transform. That is, for sigma is equal to 0, s will be j omega only, and it will give us the Fourier transform, as we have already learned in the second unit. So why we use Laplace transform? What is the use of Laplace transforms? Basically we use it in the digital signal processings to analyze the signals in frequency domain, because sometimes it is difficult to analyze the signals in time domain, like we have two signals and uh, we have conjugation of two signals, so it will be difficult to analyze signals in time domain. So we convert them into Laplace transform, and we convert the system in form of differential equations, and that differential equation can easily be converted into algebraic functions using Laplace transform, which makes our task a bit easier while analyzing the signals. So like we have a first differential of a signal ft, that is ft, first differential of signal ft, it can be written as dft by dt. So if we take Laplace transform of this dft by dt, we will get sfs, which is simply a algebraic term. We have converted the differential part of the equation into an algebraic term, which we can analyze easily. Thus, Laplace transform is useful for solving linear differential equations, and linear differential equations are useful while analyzing the stability of linear time invariant signals. Now let's see how can we find a Laplace transform of a continuous signal x of t. Xt means x is a function of time and it is a continuous signal. So how can we find the Laplace transform of xt? So xs here xs is the Laplace transform of signal xt, which is nothing but the integral of xt multiply e raised to power minus st dt, and the limit is minus infinity to infinity. It can also be denoted as L of xt, that is Laplace transform of xt. So it is a function of the independent complex variable s, which can be written as we have already seen, s is equal to sigma plus j omega, where sigma is the real part of the complex variable s and omega is the j omega is the imaginary part, which can be shown the s plane. So if we make sigma is equal to 0, then s will become j omega. As we can see, s will become j omega and xs will become minus infinite to infinite xt e raised to power minus j omega dt, which is nothing but the Fourier transform of xt. So if we make the real part, that is sigma is equal to 0, the Laplace transform will convert into Fourier transform. But Laplace transform can be used to find transforms of some of the signals for which Fourier transform cannot be find out. So let us take an example. We have xt is equal to e raised to power minus at into ut, where ut is a continuous time unit signal. Okay, and e raised to power minus at, in which a is greater than 0. That means e raised to power minus at is a decaying function of time. As the time approaches infinity, our function e raised to power minus at will approaches 0. As the time approaches infinity, our function e raised to power minus at approaches 0. So Fourier transform, if we want to calculate the Fourier Laplace transform of this function, we can use the formula xs is equal to e raised to power minus at ut into e raised to power minus st dt, and limit is minus infinite to infinite. As we can see, ut unit signal, ut is a right handed signal which is valid for only t greater than 0, that is t greater than 0. So the new limit will be 0 to infinite, and the function will be e raised to power minus s plus a into t dt. Okay, when we integrate it from 0 to infinity, what we will get, 1 upon, that is, as you can see, this value, 1 plus sigma plus a plus j omega. So the Laplace transform of xt comes out to be 1 upon sigma plus a plus j omega, in which sigma plus a should be greater than 0. So if we put sigma is equal to real part of s, then x of s will become 1 upon s plus a, in which s is equal to sigma plus j omega. As sigma plus a should be greater than 0, so real part of s should be greater than minus a. We will see later how important is this thing which we have seen here, that real of s should be greater than minus a. For a is equal to 0, xt is a unit step with Laplace x of s is equal to 1 upon s. That is, if we find the Laplace transform of unit steps unit signal ut, we will get 1 upon s, in which real of s will be greater than is equal to 0. Now let's see one more example. Here xt is equal to minus of e raised to power minus at into u of minus t. Here also u of minus t is a unity signal, but it is defined for t less than equal to 0. That is it is a left-handed signal. So Laplace transform of this signal xt will be minus infinite to infinite e raised to power minus at minus st into u of minus t dt, which comes out to be minus infinity to infinity. We have put the limit minus infinite to 0, as the signal u of minus t, which is a left-handed signal, is defined only for minus infinity to 0, that is time t is equal to less than 0. So its Laplace transform will comes out to be xs is equal to 1 upon s plus a, which is same as we have seen previously in the last example, which is the Laplace transform of xt is equal to e raised to power minus at ut. So both Laplace have come out to be same, but the difference is here. Here the real part of s is less than minus a. So what is this part? Let us understand now. uh, ROC, region of convergence. So what is region of convergence? Region of convergence is that part of the S plane that consists of let us see, that consists of real axis and imaginary axis. So that part of the S plane for which our Laplace transform, that is x of s, will exist. For example, in the last example we calculated that Laplace transform of e raised to power minus at ut comes out to be 1 upon s plus a. So real of s is greater than minus a. If I want to draw it on the s plane, how can I draw it? Let's see. So minus a, as a is a value which is greater than 0, minus a will be somewhere over there, and our Laplace x of s will exist only for this region of s plane. Now if we see for the second example, where xt is equal to minus e raised to power minus at into u of minus t, here the region of convergence will be as it comes out to be real of s is less than minus a. So minus a is over there. So region of convergence, that is for the region for which Laplace transform xt will exist, will comes out to be this. So it depends, the region of convergence depends only on the real value of the complex variable s, that is sigma. It does not depend on the imaginary value j omega. It depends only on the sigma. To specify Laplace transform of a signal, both the algebraic expression and range of values of s for which this expression is valid are required. So both the values, that is the magnitude of the xs and the value of real part of complex variable s for which the Laplace transform exists. Both are required. Two functions may get the same Laplace transform, but they will differ in the region of convergence. The range of values of s for which this integral converges is referred to as region of convergence. That is, the values of real part of complex variable s for which our this integral converges. That is, it is a bounded value. It comes out to be a bounded value. As the time approaches infinity, our signal must not approach infinity. It must be a bounded signal. Like if the time approaches infinite, the signal must not be infinite. It must be a finite value, or it must converges to 0. So it can be explained by region of convergence. So here I have drawn both the region of convergence of the above examples. This one is for the first example and this one is for the second example. Okay, so now move to the next page. Here we have one more example in which xt is equal to 3 into e raised to power minus 2t ut minus 2 into e raised to power minus t ut. So in this example we have two terms, that is, it is a combination of two signals. One is 3 e raised to power minus 2t ut and second is 2 raised to power minus et ut. So when we calculate the Laplace transform of both the signals, what we get is xs is equal to 3 upon s plus 2 minus 2 upon s plus 1. Laplace transform of e raised to power minus t into ut will come out to be s plus 1 upon s plus 1, for which real part of s should be greater than minus 1, and the second term e raised to power minus 2t ut, the Laplace transform will come out to be 1 upon s plus 2, for which real part of s should be greater than minus 2. Combining the two terms, we will get xs is equal to 3 upon s plus 2 minus 2 upon s plus 1. So region of convergence for the combined signal xt will be the intersection of both the ROCs. That is, we can see for first signal e raised to power minus t ut, the ROC is s greater than minus 1, that is this part, and for second term we have s greater than minus 2. So intersection will be this part only, that is real part of s greater than minus 1. So ROC will be the intersection of two signals. Got it? Okay, so there is a question for you which you have to solve yourself. Here we have, find the Laplace transform of e raised to power minus t into cos of 3t into ut. So as we all know, cos 3t can be written as a function of exponential functions, that is e raised to power three j plus e raised to power minus 3j divided by 2. So it is a hint. You can solve it by using this exponential function, dividing the cos 3t function into two exponential functions. Okay, now let's look at some properties of ROC. If we have functions which are combinations of two functions, or a function is a left-handed function or a right-handed function, what will be the ROCs? Let's see some of the properties of region of convergence of Laplace transform. The first property is the region of convergence of any Laplace axis will be in the form of strips which are parallel to the j omega axis, as we have already seen in the examples. So ROCs will be like strips, that is like this, parallel to j omega axis. It will be in the form of strips parallel to j omega axis. Okay, second is for rational Laplace transforms, the ROC does not contain any pole. So second property is the ROC does not contain any pole. So why do it not contain any pole? Let us see. If some transform comes out to be like this, s plus a, the pole of this function is s is equal to minus a. So for s is equal to minus a, the value of the transform xs will be infinite, that is the denominator becomes 0, and as we have already seen, it cannot be infinite, it must be a bounded integral, so its value cannot be infinite. So our Laplace transform xs will not exist at any pole, that is for s is equal to minus a, it will not exist, this point will not be included in the ROC. Okay, so third point is, now if xt is a finite duration and is absolutely integrable, then the ROC is entire S plane. If xt is a finite duration signal and is absolutely integrable, then the ROC will be entire S plane. For example, ROC will be entire S plane, that is it will be calculated for the entire range of the values of sigma, real part of S. Okay, the fourth one is, if xt is a right-handed signal, that means if our xt is a right-handed signal, or like this is a unit signal, second one, this is a decaying exponential function, so both are right-handed signals, that is they are defined for, this function is defined for t greater than 0, and this is defined for some value of t greater than minus a, so both are right-handed signals. So their ROCs will be like this, let us see, something like this, that is for real part of s greater than some value minus a, where a is a positive number. Okay, if it is a left-handed signal, fifth point, if xt is a left-sided signal and the line real of s is equal to sigma is an ROC, then the value of s for which real part of complex variable s is less than sigma naught will also be in ROC. So its ROC will look like something like this. Okay, this is the ROC for a left-handed signal. If we have combination of two signals, then ROC will be the intersection of those two signals. Now sixth point is if xt is a two-sided, and if line real part of s, it is s over there, real part of s is equal to sigma naught is in the ROC, then ROC will consist of a strip in the s plane that includes the line real of s is equal to sigma. If it is a two-sided signal, let's say one signal is this and another is this, so ROC will come out to be a strip like this, where it is the j omega axis. So ROC will comes out to be a strip bounded by two values of s, real part of s. Okay, let us take the example over here, where axis of a signal xt comes out to be 1 upon s plus 1 into s plus 2. As we can see over there, the Laplace transform of the signal xt consists of two poles, that is two poles, s is equal to -1 and s is equal to -2. So the ROC for right-handed signal will look like this. When we take the inverse Laplace, that we will see later in the lecture, when we calculate the inverse Laplace to find the original signal xt, we can find that the ROC is for this signal is a right-handed signal, and for the second part ROC is a left-handed signal. But we will calculate the final ROC of the signal xt or xs. It comes out to be a strip bounded by two values of s, where s is equal to -1 is one of the value and s is equal to -2 and s is equal to -1 are two values between which our Laplace transform x of s will exist. Outside of this region, xs will not exist. Okay, so next topic is inverse Laplace transform. So why do we use inverse Laplace? Inverse Laplace is used to get the original signal xt, that is to transform the Laplace function x of s back to xt in the time domain, to transform the frequency domain in the time domain. For example, so this is the formula for inverse Laplace. Xt is equal to 1 upon 2 pi j integral x of s e raised to power st ds. We have to integrate in respect of the complex variable s over there in the inverse Laplace transform. For example, if we are given x is equal to 1 upon s plus 1 and s plus 2, then find the inverse Laplace transform of this, or find the time domain signal xt using partial fraction. We can so by using partial fraction we can convert this signal or divide the signal into two signals, a upon s plus 1 plus b upon s plus 2. As you all know about the partial fraction, the values of a and b will come out to be 1 and -1. So our signal has been divided into two signals, 1 upon s plus 1 and 1 upon s plus 2. As we have already seen the Laplace transform of e raised to power minus ut, e raised to power minus at ut, which comes out to be 1 upon s plus a. So here we have 1 upon s plus 1, whose inverse whose inverse Laplace transform will come out to be e raised to power minus ut, and for 1 upon s plus 2 it will come out to be e raised to power minus 2t into ut. You can use the formula as well, or we can use the properties. We will see the properties of Laplace transform in the next section. So this is how we can calculate the inverse Laplace transform using partial fractions. So next is properties of Laplace transforms. The first is the linearity of the Laplace transforms. We have, let us say we have two signals x1t and x2t whose Laplace transform are x1s, and so here we have two signal x1t and x2t whose Laplace transform are x1s and x2s. So if we take the Laplace transform of the combined signal a x1t plus b x2t, it must come out to be a x1s plus b x2s with region of convergence, which is the intersection of two ROCs, that is R1 intersection R2. For example, we have xt is equal to x1t minus x2t. x1 is s is 1 upon s plus 1, s plus 1. Its region of convergence will be real part of s greater than minus 1, and for x2 s 1 upon s plus 1 upon 1 into 1 plus 1 upon s plus 1 into s plus 2. So its ROC will be, as it will be the intersection of two functions, it will be r real part of s greater than minus 1. So excess of the combined signal will be this 1 upon s plus 1 minus 1 upon s plus 1 into s plus 2, or it will come out to be this s plus 1 upon s plus 1 into s plus 2 and 1 upon s plus 2. So the final ROC will come out to be this one, that is real of s greater than minus 2. Now second property is time shifting. If we apply the property of shifting in time domain, what would happen to the Laplace transform of the signal xt? As we can see over there, if we apply the shifting in time domain, that is t minus t naught, so we will get a term e raised to power minus st naught into xs, and where xs is the Laplace transform of xt, that is we get an extra term e raised to power minus st naught, by which the time has been shifted, x of t minus t naught. So its Laplace will come out to be e raised to power minus st naught into xs, and ROC would remain the same as the original function. Now if we shift in s domain, if there is a shifting in s domain, that is in the frequency domain, if Laplace transform xt is xs with ROC r, then if we apply the shifting in frequency domain, so inverse Laplace of that signal will come out to be e raised to power s naught t, e raised to power s naught t into xt, and ROC will be r, that is the region of convergence for the original signal xs, plus re s naught, that is the real part of the s naught, by which we have shifted the frequency. Next is time scaling. If we have a signal xt whose Laplace transform is xs with ROC is equal to r, then if we applied time scaling over there a into t, then the Laplace transform of this function will be 1 upon a into s divided by a, and ROC will be r divided by a. Next property is, if we applied convolution in time domain. That is it is a very important property that we use in digital signal process to analyze a signal in frequency domain and in time domain, in which the if two signals are in convolution in the time domain, and then we take the Laplace transform, that it would simply be the multiplication in S domain or frequency domain. If it is a convolution in time domain, then it will come out to be simple multiplication in Laplace transform, which is a very important property which we will see sometime later. Okay. The second is differentiation in time domain. It is also a very important property which will be used in differential equations to get the function in time domain. If xt is a continuous time function and xs is the Laplace transform with ROCR, then the Laplace transform of the first differential dxt by dt will come out to be s multiplication xs. That is, we are getting a function which is a multiple of s, complex variable s into xs. So here we can see the proof also. We know the inverse transform function xt is equal to 1 upon 2 pi j limit sigma minus j infinity to sigma plus j infinite xs e raised to power st ds. If we take the differential dxt by dt, so here it will become differential of est will be s into est dt. So here extra term s will come out in the picture. So differential of dxt by dt will be s into xs. Okay. If we differentiate the function in frequency domain, then what we will get? If we differentiate it in frequency domain, then the inverse Laplace transform will be minus t into xt. So it will be multiplied by t times dxs by ds. If we take the inverse transform, it will come out to be minus t xt, or we multiply the signal xt by t, then the Laplace transform will come out to be minus dxs by ds. ROC will remain the same. For example, as we can see over there, xt is equal to t into e raised to power minus at ut. So we know e raised to power minus at ut. For e raised to power minus at ut, Laplace will come out to be 1 upon s plus a, and ROC is real of s greater than minus a. Now if we multiply t in it, we will get differential of 1 upon s plus a, and which comes out to be 1 upon s plus a square. So when we multiply t in the time domain, what we will get? A differentiation function of Laplace transform in the frequency domain. More generally, this expression can be, if we have higher differentials, it can be written as t raised to power n minus 1 upon n minus 1 factorial into e raised to power minus at ut. Its Laplace will come out to be 1 upon s plus a raised to power n. For higher differential, it can be used. Next is the integration in time domain. If we do the integration in time domain, what we will get? Xs upon s. In frequency domain, it will be divided by s. And what is initial value and final value theorems? That is, if we calculate the value of signal xt for t 0 at a time t just greater than 0, it will come out to be limit s tends to infinity s into xs. That is initial value of the signal in time domain. And the final value theorem is, if we find the value of xt at t is equal to infinity, then it comes out to be limit s tends to 0 s multiply xs. Sometimes in our MDU university exams, question comes on this final and initial value theorems as well. So it is simple, just we have to calculate the value of s into xs. For initial value theorem we have to calculate at s is equal to infinite, and for final value theorem we will put s is equal to 0. Okay, so now we have some Laplace transform pairs. That is, we have the signal in the time domain and its Laplace transform delta t. So delta function t, its Laplace transform will come out to be 1. For a unit signal ut, Laplace transform will be 1 upon s, and inverse transform of 1 upon s will come out to be ut, that is unit signal. Laplace transform, third point, Laplace transform of signal minus u of u minus t, that is it is a left-handed signal, but the transform will come out to be 1 upon s only, but the region of convergence will be different for both these functions. This we have already seen. T raised to power n minus 1 upon n minus 1 factorial ut will come out to be 1 upon s raised to power n. If we multiply ut with e raised to power minus at, then what we will get, 1 upon s plus a, that is the Laplace transform of ut was 1 upon s. If we multiply e raised to power minus at in ut, we will get 1 upon s plus a. A will be added to s. Okay, now let's move to the 6th point. It is also a left-handed signal, e raised to power minus at into u minus t. So Laplace would come out same as the last example, but the region of convergence will be different. So these are some of the Laplace transform pairs, like cos omega naught. If we multiply cos omega naught t into a signal ut, then the Laplace transform will be. So we must learn all these Laplace transform of basic signals, because these signals will be used in the numericals which comes in MDU semester examinations. Okay, thank you students.